In this video, I will be doing a video response to the hashtag Tarot Firsts created by Logan at Lark and Legend. Let's do it. I just realized this is my third VR to one of Logan's tags. Logan makes such great tags. They're just great and thought-provoking, and I enjoy them. So naturally I had to reply to this one because it's really, really good. The premise is asking about certain experiences, first experiences regarding our tarot practice. What were they and how they went down and things like that. Logan has 11 prompts. 11 prompts to this tag, which is awesome. It's a little something to sink your teeth into. So this VR will be answering those prompts to this really fantastic tag. Today I've got a sweetened version of my go-to kind of everyday coffee. After I put out my Coffee House Decks tag, a few people asked me what my go-to kind of everyday or favorite coffee is. I have a lot of different favorites, I suppose, but my go-to is really quite simple. I never put anything sweet. I do not have, my first coffee of the day is never sweetened because my body doesn't do well with carbs or sugar kind of in general in the morning. Once I'm up and kind of getting my engine going, so to speak, I tolerate carbs a lot better as the day goes on. So my first coffee doesn't ever have sugar in it. So my go-to that I have on a daily basis is a pour over. Oftentimes kind of a hastily crafted one due to time, but still even a somewhat hastily crafted pour over is still better than a lot of other methods of preparation that are out there. So I keep a cone, a reusable mesh filter here and one at school, so I always have one. My son uses the one here at home as well, but I will do the pour over usually with a medium or a medium dark roast. Every once in a while I'm in the mood for a super dark roast, but usually I'm a medium to medium dark girl, and light roasts are usually not my thing. It just depends on the roaster and the origin. So I do a medium to medium dark roast in a reusable mesh metal pour over filter, and then I add about 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, a bit of pink salt, and cinnamon. The cinnamon actually gives it a bit of sweetness, but without actually having sugar in it, which is really great. I love cinnamon in coffee. It's a great little hack for if you're trying to not have sweet coffee, but you you like that hint of sweetness, but you're trying to not put sugar or sweetener in your coffee. Cinnamon is a really fantastic little coffee hack. And the salt in coffee, still to this day, I remember when I made that discovery. I watched a video by James Hoffmann. If you like coffee and you don't know who James Hoffmann is, go now. But it's a video he did about salt in coffee, and I'd read a couple articles prior about how it can kind of cut the bitterness aspect a little bit, and it really works. There are some roasts I can almost drink black if it's got a little bit of salt in it. As a whole, I'm not a black coffee drinker. My son, on the other hand, takes his coffee black, which is crazy to me just because I've never been able to do that. Except for Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee I actually like. It's really strong, concentrate. It's like espresso, but when you get to the bottom, it's thick. It's almost kind of like tar, but in a good way. So pour over, medium roast, heavy cream, pink salt, cinnamon. That's kind of my everyday go-to that I have in the morning. If I have a second cup, which I almost always do, especially since the pandemic started, I turned into a 2 to 3 cup of coffee a day girl instead of 1. And so I most often will have more than 1 cup. This is my second one. But sometimes in my second one, I will sweeten it a bit just because usually by then I've eaten a little something, and my engine's been going for a while. So today I've got my go-to, but with a little bit of coconut syrup, and my favorite coffee syrups and like cocktail and anything you want to put some flavor into is the Monin. It's French, so I think it would be pronounced Monin. Their syrups are incredible, and they're really reasonably priced. I buy directly from their website. I actually just placed an order. I have a box sitting over there that I haven't unboxed yet. And this coconut bottle is empty, and I have a new one over there. But yeah, so a little bit of coconut I have today. Sometimes I'll do Irish cream. I love Irish cream. And I love toasted marshmallow as well. When I'm out, I do like to get mochas. I typically will get a mocha when I'm out. If I get a coffee out, I like to do a tall or a 12-ounce triple shot mocha with breve, so with half and half instead of milk or a milk alternative. Sometimes I'll get oat milk chais if I'm out and about. So that's what I have in my cup. And this is the exact same cup that I had in my Coffee House Decks video. This is the second one. I actually have two. I keep one here and one at school. Yeah, so good. I'm really, really focused on like sensory experience today. I mean, I am typically Taurus rising, but today I don't know if it's a transit or what's going on, but I'm just wanting all of the luscious smells and tastes and textures, and I'm using the good China incense today when I wouldn't normally. It's not like an observance day or a day that I classify as an observance day, which is when I would use my hand rolled stuff instead of kind of my everyday Urban Earth sandalwood. But yeah, and like the coconutty coffee and the incense, and I put on my Queens and Monsters perfume at home, which I don't ordinarily do because it's kind of expensive and I like to save it for when I go out. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wear that at home. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, all the sensory things, I'm digging it. I need to look at the transits and see what they're doing. Something's going on. Okay, that was a lot of waffling on about really absolutely nothing. So let's get on with this tag, shall we? This really, really great tag that Logan has done. Switch positions. I like sitting on the floor. I'm really very much a floor sitter at heart, but I do have to change positions now and again, or else things get tingly and go to sleep. So as I said before, Logan has included 11 prompts having to do with first experiences of some sort regarding your tarot practice. So I will be going through all 11. One of them I actually haven't had an experience with yet, but I have an idea related to that particular prompt. So I will talk about that even though I haven't actually done it yet. Prompt number 1, first encounter with tarot. The first encounter with tarot that I specifically remember well was seeing it in a movie in my teens. My dad is a big James Bond fan, always has been, and when I was in my teens, my mid to late teens, I started watching the movies with him, and we watched Live and Let Die, and I remember the scene with the tarot cards on the table with, what was the character's name? It's Jane Seymour, right? Solitaire was the tarot reader, and that darn lover's card just made an appearance, and we all know what happens from there. But that is the first kind of visual encounter I ever remember having with tarot. I had heard of it before that, kind of knew what it was, but never really had seen it, at least to my knowledge. My first like very consciously vivid memory of seeing tarot was in the movie Live and Let Die. My first experience handling a tarot deck was actually it wasn't this is mine. It was a copy of this, an older copy of the Secret Tarot that had come into my life in a very interesting way. And I actually did a video about that. It's my my CHATTY VR mashup. I did the tarot origin story, which is where this comes into play, and the tarot community builds, Livy's tag. I combined those together. So if you want to know more about kind of the background of this, go watch that video because I hashed it out completely there, so I won't repeat myself here. So visually seeing was in the movie Live and Let Die, and actually handling a deck was the other version of the Secret Tarot that's not mine. I think that sums that one up. Prompt number 2, first tarot deck, and he has in parentheses mass market / indie, so I'll go ahead and do both of those, I think. So the very first deck I ever bought for myself is a mass market deck, and it is this one, just the borderless Centennial Smith-Waite by US Games. I just ordered it from Amazon. This is the deck I essentially cut my teeth on. I always feel the need to show cards when I get this deck out, even though everybody knows what it looks like. So this is my first tarot in general and my first mass market tarot. Let's see which one we land on the bottom. Oh, nice. I always seem to land on a major whenever I stop doing that, but yeah, so this is my first mass market deck. My first indie deck is actually in my rehomed box. I'm not going to dig it out right now, but I will insert a photo of it here. I think there'll be room. It was the first edition of the 5-cent tarot by Madame Clara. I didn't get mine from Kickstarter, but the copy I got was, I think, part of the Kickstarter leftover from the campaign, and they were selling in the shop, because I got the reading cloth and the bag, and I got like a bunch of little extras that I think would have been Kickstarter extras. And mine had the dark green backs and dark green edging. So that was my first indie deck, and I was so enchanted by the artwork on that deck, and I just thought it was so gorgeous, and I still think it's gorgeous, but I learned very quickly as a tarot it was not going to work for me. I learned animal decks as a whole do not work for me, and also that deck has keywords, and I learned really quickly that the keywords on tarot for me, for the most part, are a big no-no. I felt like, don't tell me how to read the cards. So I found it more of an annoyance than anything, and it just kind of distracted me from the experience of reading the tarot. But I think it's a great beginner deck if you want, it's RWS based, if you want a deck that's different than the Rider-Waite Smith, but something kind of based within that system and that has the keywords. Each card has an upright keyword and a reverse keyword, like main keyword, and then there are several sub keywords throughout each card. So I think it could be very helpful if you are a beginner and you want a deck that's a little bit different than the Rider-Waite Smith. That might be a good option, but it wasn't for me. And so it's in my rehomed box, but I still think the art is just really, really pretty on those cards. But so that was my first indie tarot. Prompt number 3, first Kickstarter tarot. My first Kickstarter tarot is actually one that I just pledged. I talked about it in my February Pocket Money Challenge video, how I had just backed a Kickstarter, and because I was talking about March. And that is the Rain Shadow Tarot by Claire Mack. I did pledge to that campaign. I've never gotten a Kickstarter tarot. This will be my first one. I'm pretty excited about it just because Claire Mack is what I would consider a local regional artist to my proximity to where I am. And I love her oracles, the Illuminated Earth and Fast the Garden. I have both and I love both. And so I'm really excited to see what the tarot has to offer. And from what, she didn't have images of all the cards, but from what I saw, I think it's something I can potentially sink my teeth into, so I'm excited about that. So Rain Shadow Tarot, Claire Mack, is my first Kickstarter tarot, and I have recently pledged. I think the campaign ends, it's the last week of March. I can't remember the exact date, but if you're interested, go check it out. I think it was fully funded the first day, so the funding is already squared away, but yeah, the campaign is still live, so go take a look if you're interested. Prompt number 4, first tarottuber. I'm really fairly certain it was Kelly Fitzgerald. She's kind of the one that just sticks out as far as the fundamental aspects of my learning, as far as when I started watching TarotTube. I'm pretty certain it was Kelly. If it wasn't Kelly, then it might have been Elliot Oracle. If you don't know Dr. Elliot Adam or are unfamiliar with this channel, Elliot Oracle, especially if you're a beginner tarot reader, go check Elliot's stuff out. Elliot he's primarily Rider-Waite Smith focused, but his perspective on tarot is very refreshing. It's very unique, and it's a little out of the box, which is something that I really appreciated, particularly as a beginner, because I was looking for a wide variety of scope and perspectives, and Elliot's channel was really foundational for me as far as my learning, particularly when I was a beginner. He has great little kind of quick like mini lessons for each card, and like he's a reversal reader, so he'll do upright and reversals. But yeah, his approach is really unique, and he's also a published author through Llewellyn. He wrote Fearless Tarot and Tarot in Love. I think Tarot in Love is relatively recent. If I remember, I'll put pictures of those here. But so he is a published author as well. And he has a website. I'll try to remember to link his channel and his website. But yeah, Elliot Oracle, highly underrated, highly recommended. So it was either Kelly or Elliot, or they might have been kind of pretty much at the same time. So that answers prompt number 4. Prompt number 5, first tarot book. I actually have 2 because I bought both of them together. I actually had to go back through my orders and look, and because I wasn't entirely sure which was the first one, but it turns out I ordered 2, and I remember now I ordered 2 the same day. So one of the 2 is The Tarot Companion by Liz Dean. This is just a very basic, simple, RWS based, like, beginner guidebook with just a breakdown of each card and some little extras. There are a few spreads at the beginning here. But I just wanted something super simple and basic that matched the deck that I had, which was this one. So, you know, nothing overly groundbreaking, just something to kind of get me acquainted with sequences and patterns. And I actually use this one quite a bit. I don't really anymore, just because my perspective on the cards has changed so much. But I think I'll always keep this one because it was quite useful to me. So that was one of the 2. The other one was Tarot Spreads by Barbara Moore. I'm a big Barbara Moore fan. I like Barbara Moore a lot. And I've said before, it's a bummer that a lot of the decks that she writes the guidebooks for, I'm not overly attracted to, which is a bummer. But like Tarot of the Hidden Realm, she wrote the guidebook for that. That guidebook is so incredible. And I've never been able to think about the Ten of Wands the same after reading that interpretation that she did in that book. But yeah, Tarot Spreads, Barbara Moore. It's just, and it's, as it says, it's just a giant book of spreads. Just nothing but spreads. So I wanted something to kind of get me acquainted with established meanings and a book on laying the cards out. So these are my 2 first books right here. So that's prompt number 5. Prompt number 6, first tarot podcast. Again, I think it's it's a toss-up between 2. It was either Biddy Tarot. I think Biddy Tarot is a first for a lot of readers. Biddy Tarot is Bridget Esselmont. She created a deck, or oversaw the creation of the deck. It's the Everyday Tarot, the little purple and gold one. I'll put a picture here if I remember. But so that was her deck, very RWS space deck. It was either Biddy Tarot or The Easiest Way to Learn Tarot Ever, based on the book by Dusty White. The episodes of that podcast that I listened to, I believe, have been taken down, which is a huge bummer, because what it was these 3, I think it was 3 ladies, was it 3 ladies? Or I think it was 3 ladies, all readers. They all read for other people, but they were students of Dusty's, and they would get together and talk about the cards. And they did a great series for every card, each card in the deck, all 78 cards, and then just, experiences about reading for others. And one of the readers was UK based, and she was a regular at like festivals and fairs and things like that. So she would talk about reading from that perspective. And I really, really loved the interplay and the dialogue between those ladies, those readers. But I think those episodes have been taken down. I'm not entirely sure. But when I went to look, I didn't see any of those episodes there. So I think they've been removed. It was either Biddy Tarot or Easiest Way to Learn Tarot Ever, based on the book by Dusty White. It was one of those. Again, like the books, it was probably both kind of at the same time. So that answers prompt number 6. Prompt number 7, your first tarot course. Actually, I guess there are 2 technically that I haven't had an experience with. I have not taken a course, at least in an official capacity, where I pay money to a course creator and I get their materials. I have not done that in an official sense. I'm not object to the idea. I would really like to take a course in Marseille. I think I just don't know with whom I would like to do that yet. There are several options, but I'm kind of exploring that. And actually, for courses, the ones I would really like to take are not tarot related. Like, I would really like to take Kelly Fitzgerald's Lenormand course, and she has a geomancy course as well. I would really like to take both of those. So I think I would probably do one of those before I did a tarot course. So no official tarot courses as of yet. So that's prompt number 7. Prompt number 8. This is a good one. First major tarot teaching you relearned in a way that better suited you. This is such a great prompt, and there are so many directions I could take this, but I think the most fundamental one, as far as an approach to reading that's somewhat, maybe typical is not the right word, but I guess it might be, I think it's relatively common, is this tendency to distinguish between good cards and bad cards in the tarot. And I heard that a lot when I was beginning. I read it, I heard it in videos, you know, good card, you got one of the good cards. It's the best card in the deck, you know, and it's like, really? You know, but I don't know. I think the way I've reframed that over the years is that for me, I've come to experience is that there are really no good cards or bad cards. In my perspective, every card is on a spectrum. And depending on the querent and the context of the question and the position in the spread, if there is a spread, and just the intuitive hit from the reader, I mean, they may see the sun card, but it might not necessarily intuitively in that moment be a positive association. A really great example of this, I was just talking about the Dusty White podcast and how those ladies would have conversations about the cards. In the episode that they did, I really wish those episodes were up because they were so great. In the episode they did about the 10 of Cups, and they used the Rider-Waite-Smith, so just basic Rider-Waite-Smith. In the episode about the 10 of Cups that they did, one of the ladies talked about an experience reading for a querent where the topic of, I can't remember if it was the querent's son or the querent's brother, a relative of the querent. I believe they were in Iraq at the time. And for the sake of kind of confidentiality, she didn't go too terribly in depth with kind of the nature of the context, but she did mention that in one of the positions, this card came up. The 10 of Cups came up. And her eye was immediately drawn to the cups in the sky. And instead of it being that happy family, all sunshine and rainbows, the first thing she thought of when she saw these cups were bombs being dropped in villages and on families. And I have never been able to look at this card in the same way. So 10 of Cups is generally regarded as a relatively happy card, but in a situation like that, or depending on the nature of the context of the question or the spread position, maybe not so much. Because I think 10s are a good reminder that too much of a good thing is possible. It can be, because 10s for me come after the fulfillment or attainment aspect of the 9. And so when the 10 comes, you're firmly settled in that, but then it's kind of like, now what? You know, and I do think that every card has a shadow. Another example would be in a reading I did for myself probably about a year ago, when you have a position like I did where I would, I called it something to bring in, and I got the Devil. You know, so when it's in a position like that and you get a card like the Devil, you know, bringing in is typically something that you want. But if you frame the meaning of the Devil as inherently negative, you know, it's like, what do you do with that? But for me, the Devil is about oftentimes giving away too much of your power, abdicating your power to someone else. You are not aligned with where you are because parts of you are somewhere else under the control of others. So a lot of the meaning for the Devil for me is that. But the Devil for me is also about creativity. There's a creative aspect to the Devil that I think often gets ignored. Was it Ben Dobbs' book? It was one of my Marseille books where they talked about the Devil and creativity. And I thought that was a great interpretation. For me at that time, I was also looking at investigating topics and subjects that were a little bit kind of deeper and darker than I had, been exposed to or allowed myself to be exposed to. And the devil can be about taboo. For me, intuitively, part of my interpretation was it's okay to bring some of that more taboo subject matter into your life and study it and acquaint yourself with it and see how you feel about it. It's okay. It's okay, because things that are taboo are subjective, both at an individual level and a cultural and societal level. So, not everything is going to be taboo to everyone everywhere. But when in a position like what to bring in and you get the devil, a reframing of what you might think, I think can be a really, really good thing as far as broadening your perspective in the cards, just like the Ten of Cups and the bombing of villages, that's not a happy interpretation of what is normally considered a happy card. So I think the takeaway from this, is just don't automatically assign good and bad to your cards. And when you get something that seems kind of counterintuitive like that, meaning wise, in a spread, don't get stuck there. I think it's a really fantastic challenge to really open up your viewpoint regarding the cards, and just that reminder that there's always going to be that ebbing and that flowing of light and shadow, yin and yang. It's always there. I think of all of the major tarot teachings that I'm familiar with, or that I've seen spoken of a lot, is the concept of good and bad cards. In my perspective, I say that's limiting, and don't be afraid to think about the cards in a different perspective. That was a very long-winded answer to prompt number 8. Prompt number 9, first tarot deck rehomed. For me, that would be the Herb Crafter's Tarot. I did rehome my copy of that deck toward the end of last year. That was the first deck I had ever rehomed, period, and it just happened to be a tarot. So I did sell that toward the end of last year. It was beautiful. The guidebook was good. The art was beautiful, but as a tarot, and I even tried using it as an oracle for a while, but I couldn't escape that the tarot association was there, and I was like, yeah, I can't unsee that unless I would have turned it off. But still, even then, I probably would have still made that association visually, because I would have remembered a lot of what they were. So in the end, I just decided to pass it on, because beautiful deck, but as a tarot, just didn't work for me. That was prompt number 9. Prompt number 10 is the first tarot that touched you emotionally. I kind of had to think about this one a little bit and go through my list of decks that I had kind of in the order that I acquired them. And I think all my tarots tug at me emotionally a little bit. That's why I have them. But the one I remember distinctly feeling just kind of that close attachment with was the Spacious Tarot. I have the 2019 first edition with the misspelled, is it Three of Pentacles? I think the Three of Pentacles is misspelled. 2 of the letters are in reverse order. I find it endearing, and so I opted to keep my edition. I have not edged mine yet. So the Spacious Tarot is a nature-based deck. No people. And I remember feeling just kind of this emotional sense of expansiveness. It reminded me of being on a trail, one of the many trails I frequent. It just reminded me of being outside with my pack and my music, or just my thoughts. And these images really allow you to kind of put yourself there. Yeah, the courts are different. There's Guardian, Elder, Explorer. Explorer is the Knight. And what are the pages? Here's the misspelled Three of Pentacles. T and the A are reversed. I find it endearing. What are the pages? I can't remember. Elder, Guardian, Explorer, and Child. Here's the Child of Pentacles. So the courts are renamed. And like I said before, animal decks really aren't my thing, but if they're not all of these cards are animal cards, and I can do that if they're just interspersed here and there throughout the deck. I can do that. I think the closest thing to a human figure is actually the death card. I love this death card. It's my zodiac card. And that flower is actually on the back of the box. But yeah, I just remember feeling really emotionally expansive when I saw these cards. I'm a bad content creator and didn't tell you the author. It's Carrie Mallon and Annie. I never know how to pronounce this last name. If somebody knows phonetically how to pronounce Annie's last name, comment and let me know just so I get it right. It's Ruygt. And Carrie Mallon has a YouTube channel, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's RWS based. It's different. The Emperor, the perfect rose, all that structure. That is beautiful. That reminds me of camping or just laying outside like at my parents' house and just looking up through the trees and seeing the stars. It's very relevant to my experience. Looking at the earth versus being on the earth. So that perspective piece. Here's the Empress, a little bit more spontaneous and abundantly, beautifully chaotic growth of wildflowers here versus the Emperor's perfect formation. Hierophant or standing stones. I don't know, I like it. It tugs at my heartstrings a lot. So I would say the Spacious Tarot is the first tarot to touch me emotionally. So that was prompt number 10. Prompt number 11 is first tarot inspired artwork that you made. This is the other one that is not applicable to me at this time. I'm not a deck creator, at least right now. That's an avenue I could see myself exploring in the future, just not at the moment, but I haven't totally counted that out. I haven't painted or drawn anything tarot related. But the one thing I have thought about doing is sort of a photography representation of the major arcana. I like photography. I'm kind of an amateur, very amateur enthusiast photographer. I particularly like kind of testing the boundaries and the limits with mobile photography, just seeing what can I create with the camera that's on me all the time. All of the content that I produce for this channel has been done with my mobile phone. It's been filmed, edited, uploaded, published, all through my mobile phone. So I have this kind of passion of seeing where I can push the limits with mobile photography. I like experimenting with HDR edits as well, a high dynamic range. So I've been thinking about doing some kind of mobile photography based tarot project where I bring in that HDR editing piece. I haven't mapped anything out. It's just something I've bounced around in my noggin a few times for the past several months. It's on my master projects list for like a someday maybe of something I may do, or I may not ever get around to it, but it's something I've thought about. So haven't officially done anything yet, but I have thought about doing that photography project, so maybe I will. I was thinking just the majors at first, but then depending on how it went, I might do the whole deck eventually, just of how I see the cards. So that is the end of this tag. These were amazing prompts, very thought-provoking, and I hope that Logan gets a lot of VRs to this tag because it's a really good one. So yeah, that's all I've got, I think, for this one. My son is out of town today doing his recruitment stuff in the big city, so I probably should clean something. I don't know what, but yeah, I'm gonna go attempt to do that, I think. So until my next video, take care and be well.